The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was the largest building ever made by any species in the known universe. It floated in space near a dying star, and its walls were made of crystal that glowed with soft blue light. Inside, 47 different alien species sat in their special chairs. Each chair had a symbol above it showing which planet the delegate came from. But one chair was always empty. It sat in the second row between the tall insect-like and the four-eyed. The chair was simple and nothing special about it. Above it hung a small picture of a blue and green planet, Earth. No human had ever sat in that chair. No human had ever come to the council at all. Chancellor was very old. His skin was wrinkled and dry, and he had been leading the council for longer than most species had records. He remembered when Earth first sent radio signals into space. He remembered the excitement when they discovered another intelligent species. He also remembered the fear. "Chancellor," said Ambassador of the, her four purple eyes looked at the empty chair. "I must ask again, why do we keep this seat? The humans have never answered our messages. They ignore us completely. Perhaps we should give their seat to the, they have been asking for years." Breath slowly through the gills on his neck. "The seat remains." "But why?" asked Delegate of the. His sharp mouth parts clicked together when he spoke. "We sent them an invitation 200 of their years ago. They have ships now. They have colonies. They travel between stars, yet they act like we do not exist." "Maybe they just want to be alone," said a voice from the back. "Some species prefer to keep to themselves." Shook his head. "Species that want to be alone do not build the kind of fleet our scouts have seen. They do not spread to 14 planets in 30 years. They work faster than and they have been building things for 10,000 years." Everyone in the hall began to whisper. They were famous for their factories and machines. If humans could match them already, that was very worrying. Raised his old hand, and everyone became quiet. "The humans have been watched," he said carefully, "more closely than most of you know. Our intelligence division has been studying them since they first ignored our invitation." "And what did they learn?" asked. Was silent for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was very soft. "They learned that we should be thankful the humans have chosen to ignore us." The hall exploded with noise. Delegates stood up from their seats. They shouted in a dozen different languages. The translation machines worked hard to keep up with all the voices. "Silence," commanded. Something in his voice made everyone stop. Even the most angry delegates sat back down. "I will tell you what we know, but this information cannot leave this room. The regular people on our planets cannot know. Not yet, maybe not ever." He waved his hand, and a large picture appeared in the air above the empty chair. "Humans," he began, "are not like us." Far away, on a ship called the Resolute, Lieutenant Commander Daniel Hayes stood at a window and watched the stars go by. He was 34 years old and had spent half his life in the United Earth Space Navy. He had started as a simple repair worker and worked his way up to being second in command of one of the best warships humans had ever built. The Resolute was 300 meters long. It was made of the strongest metal humans could make, and it carried enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Daniel thought it was beautiful in a dangerous way. "Deep thoughts, sir," said a voice behind him. He turned and saw Chief Petty Officer Sandra Miller walking toward him with 2 cups of coffee. She was a strong woman in her 40s with short hair and rough hands from years of fixing ships. "Just wondering what we will find out here," Daniel said. He took the coffee and thanked her with a small nod. "Same thing we always find," Sandra said with a small laugh. "Rocks and gas and maybe some old alien ruins. Nothing exciting." Daniel smiled, but he did not really feel happy. The officers at headquarters seemed to think this trip might be different. "Captain has been in meetings for 3 days. Something is bothering her." "Captain is always bothered. That woman was born worried." Just then, Captain Lisa's voice came through the speakers on the ship. "All senior officers to the bridge. This is not practice. I repeat, this is not practice. Sandra raised her eyebrows. Looks like the rocks and gas will have to wait. They walked quickly through the narrow hallways of the ship. Other crew members stepped aside to let them pass. The bridge was deep inside the ship, protected by thick walls of metal. When the doors opened, Daniel could see that something was wrong. Captain stood at the main control station. She was a tall woman with dark skin and sharp features. Lights from the screens made her face glow blue and green. She was the kind of person who made even admirals nervous. "Commander Hayes, Chief Miller," she said, "take your places, we have a problem." Daniel moved to the weapons station while Sandra went to engineering. The other senior officers came in too. Park handled navigation. Amy Torres worked communications. Dr. Cole was the ship's doctor. "What is happening, Captain?" Daniel asked. "Brought up a sensor display. 40 minutes ago, our long-range sensors found something strange in the 442 system. At first we thought it was natural, maybe a solar flare or a comet hitting something." "But it was not?" asked. "No, we started receiving this." She pressed a button and the bridge filled with static noise. But underneath the static there was a pattern, a rhythm, something that was definitely not natural. "That is a distress signal," Amy said, leaning forward to listen better. "Old format but definitely made by intelligent beings." "It gets more interesting," made the display bigger. "We checked the signal against our records. It matches the communication style used by the Galactic Council." Nobody spoke. Everyone knew about the Council. Earth had known about them for generations. The government had simply chosen not to answer their messages. "What are our orders, Captain?" Daniel asked. Looked into his eyes. "We investigate, quietly. Command wants to know why the Council is sending emergency signals in our part of space." She turned back to the display, and Daniel felt a cold feeling in his stomach. Something bad was happening. He could feel it. Whatever they found in the 442 system was going to change everything. He just did not know how right he was. The 442 system was a place of death. When the Resolute came out of faster-than-light travel, the crew found themselves floating in a sea of broken ships. Twisted metal spun slowly in the darkness. Frozen air hung in clouds around shattered hulls. The shapes of destroyed spacecraft drifted everywhere like leaves falling from a tree in autumn. "God help us," whispered from his navigation station. Daniel ran his fingers over the weapon controls, reading the information on his screens. "I count at least 40 different ships, many different species based on our intelligence files. Cruisers, fighters, something that looks like design." "Was there a battle?" Captain asked. "No," Daniel said, his voice grim. "This was a slaughter. Look at how the ships are spread out. They were running away. Whatever attacked them came from the outer part of the system." Turned to Amy. "The distress signal, where is it coming from?" "A small ship about 2,000 kilometers to our right. Life signs are weak, but someone is still alive." "Take us there, slow and careful. I want all weapons ready to fire." The Resolute moved through the field of dead ships like a shark swimming through a coral reef. Daniel kept his hand near the weapon controls, but his eyes were on the sensors. Nothing was moving out there. Nothing was alive except for that one small ship. It was a shuttle, a Council design, barely bigger than one of their own landing craft. Its outer shell was burned and full of holes. Frozen air leaked from many places. "Whoever is inside does not have much time," Dr. Cole said, looking at his medical scanner. "Those life signs are getting weaker." Made her decision quickly. "Prepare a rescue team. Commander Hayes, you will lead. Take 6 Marines, Dr. Cole and Chief Miller in case the ship needs repairs." "Yes, Captain." Daniel was already moving toward the door. The team came together in the hangar bay in less than 10 minutes. 6 Marines in full battle armor. Dr. Cole with his medical bag. Sandra with her tools. Daniel in his own tactical suit. They loaded into a small shuttle and flew out into space. "Getting close to the target ship," the pilot reported. "There is a place we can connect on the bottom." "Do it." The connection was rough. The Council shuttle was not made to fit with human ships. Air hissed through tiny gaps where the seal was not perfect. "Keep your helmets on," Daniel ordered. "We do not know what kind of air they breathe." The door opened into darkness. Emergency lights flickered red in the Council shuttle, making strange shadows on the walls. The ship was smaller than Daniel expected. Just one hallway leading to what looked like a cockpit. The Marines went first, their guns pointing at every corner. Daniel followed with his pistol ready. Dr. Cole and Sandra came last. They found the survivors in the cockpit. There were two of them. The first was clearly dead. It was based on the four eyes, though it was hard to tell because terrible burns covered most of its body. It was lying on what might have been a navigation control panel. The second one was still alive, barely. It was smaller than Daniel expected, maybe 1.5 meters tall, with skin and large dark eyes. Its body looked too thin and weak to survive in space. It wore robes that might once have been fancy but were now torn and dirty. "That is Sandra said quietly. "Intelligence says they are one of the first species to start the Council. Very rare to see them away from their home planet." The eyes opened as they came closer. For a long moment it just stared at them, at their helmets, their weapons, the symbol of Earth on their shoulders. Then it began to speak. Daniel could not understand the words, but the meaning was clear from the voice. Fear, complete and total fear. "Doc," Daniel said. Dr. Cole was already using his scanner. "Many internal injuries, radiation damage. It is dying, Commander. A few hours at most, even with our best medicine." There was still talking, faster now, more urgent. It reached out with a shaking hand and grabbed Daniel by the wrist. "Easy," Daniel said, even though he knew the creature could not understand. "We are not going to hurt you." They looked into his eyes. And then, somehow, through whatever technology or strange ability made it possible, Daniel understood. Not words, pictures, feelings. A story told faster than a heartbeat. He saw a fleet of hundreds of ships, the pride of the Galactic Council, coming to investigate reports of strange activity in a distant system. He saw them arrive and find nothing. Empty space. False signals. A trap. He saw ships appearing from nowhere, from the dark spaces between stars where nothing should exist. Ships that were wrong somehow. Looking at them hurt his mind. Their weapons made sounds that reality itself seemed to reject. He saw the Council fleet dying, not fighting. There was no fight. There was only destruction. Ships torn apart from the inside. Crews going crazy from signals they could not block. A massacre that lasted less than an hour. Nothing left but broken ships and one small shuttle running away into the void. And he saw what they had seen just before the end. A symbol on the attacking ships. A symbol that the Council's records identified immediately. A planet blue and green, Earth. Daniel gasped and pulled his hand back. This arm fell to its side. "Commander," Sandra asked, "what happened? You look like you saw a ghost." Daniel looked down at the dying alien. Its eyes were fixed on him now, and in them he saw something he recognized very well. It was the look of someone who had just learned that monsters are real. "We need to get back to the ship," Daniel said, "right now." They died before they reached the Resolute. Its last breath left its body just as they carried it through the airlock. Dr. Cole said there was nothing they could have done. The damage was too severe. But the images it had shared with Daniel remained. They played over and over in his mind like a movie he could not turn off. The fleet dying, the strange ships attacking, and that symbol, Earth's symbol, on vessels that could not possibly be human. Captain was waiting for them in the medical bay. Her face was calm, but her eyes were worried. "Report," she said. Daniel told her everything. The images, the feelings, the symbol on the attacking ships. When he finished, was quiet for a long time. "You are sure about what you saw?" she finally asked. "As sure as I can be about anything." "That is impossible. Earth does not have ships that can do what you described. We do not have weapons that can tear other ships apart from the inside." "I know," Daniel said. "I know what we have and what we do not have, but I also know what I saw." Turned to look out the window at the floating wreckage. "Then either someone is trying to make the council think we attacked them," she said slowly, "or there is something out there connected to Earth that we know nothing about." She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice was heavy with worry. "Either way, we are in serious trouble." Captain stood at her desk, typing codes that Daniel had never seen before into her computer. Her fingers moved fast and her face showed no emotion, but Daniel could see tension in her shoulders. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Opening files I hoped I would never have to read." A holographic display appeared in the air above her desk. It was full of text, diagrams, and old photographs. "Sit down, Commander. What I am about to tell you is the most secret information our government has. People have disappeared for talking about this." Daniel sat. "You know the official story began. In 2089, we picked up alien radio signals. The government studied them and decided they came from an advanced civilization trying to contact us. We chose to watch but not respond. Standard procedure for a new species. That is what they taught us at the academy. That is what they teach everyone. It is a lie," scrolled through the files on her display. "The signals were not a friendly invitation. They were a warning, and we did respond, just not in the way the council expected." She showed him a picture of a huge structure floating in space above Earth. It was covered with dishes and antennas pointing in every direction. The listening post said, "We built it in 2095. Officially, it was for observing deep space. In truth, it was the biggest spy operation in human history. For decades, we listened to everything. Council messages, diplomatic talks, military orders. We learned their languages, their cultures, their technologies." "Why would we do that?" "Because the warning in those original signals was very clear. The galaxy is not a friendly place, Commander. The Council acts like a peaceful group of friends, but its history is full of blood. Species that refused to join were cut off from everyone else. Species that fought back were destroyed, and species that seemed too dangerous were killed before they could become a threat." Daniel felt cold inside. "We were considered dangerous. We were at the top of their list of threats." Brought up another file. It showed translated messages that human spies had recorded. "The Council labeled humanity as a Category 5 existential threat within 1 year of hearing our radio signals. Our violence, our ability to adapt, how fast we were advancing in technology, all of it scared them. Their original plan was to put a wall around our solar system and wait for us to destroy ourselves. But they did not do that. No, because something happened that changed their minds." His voice became very quiet. "In 2147, a council survey ship entered our solar system. They were just supposed to look around and leave. No contact with us, but they made a mistake. They got too close to one of our early ships going to Mars." "What happened?" "The people on our ship panicked. They thought they were being attacked. They fired their weapons." Daniel waited. "The council ship was destroyed. Everyone on board died, and the council did nothing." "Nothing?" "Nothing at all. They covered it up, erased all records. Officially, that ship was lost because of a navigation error." Looked directly at him. "Do you understand what that means? The most powerful civilization in the galaxy, with enough ships to burn our entire planet to ash in hours, chose to pretend that we had not just killed 12 of their people. They were afraid of us. They were terrified of us, and they had good reason." Moved to a new section of the files. The information we gathered over the next decades showed us a galaxy that was much less stable than the Council wanted anyone to know. Enemy powers at the edges of known space, arguments and fighting within the Council itself, and everywhere, always, the fear of what would happen if humanity ever decided to leave our corner of space and get involved in galactic business. But we did leave, Daniel said. We have colonies and mining operations all over, all carefully planned to stay away from Council territory, all designed to make us stronger without making them nervous enough to attack us. Paused. Or so we thought. The ships that attacked the Council fleet were not ours. We cannot build things like that. No, we cannot. The expression was dark and worried, which means either someone is using our symbol to frame us for starting a war, or there is something connected to Earth that we do not know about. Something that just announced itself to the whole galaxy in the worst way possible. The communication speaker crackled. "Captain, we are receiving a message. It is on the Council's emergency channel." And Daniel looked at each other. "Put it through." The holographic display changed. A face appeared. Skin, gills on the neck, ancient tired eyes, Chancellor of the Galactic Council. "Human ship," he said. His voice sounded like it carried the weight of centuries. "We know you are there. We know you found our survivors, and we know what happened to our fleet." Stepped forward. "Chancellor, this is Captain Lisa of the United Earth Space Navy. I promise you, Earth had nothing to do with the attack on your ships. We have seen the evidence. The symbol on those attacking ships was very clear. Someone is framing us, making us look guilty. Perhaps," eyes revealed nothing, "or perhaps humanity has finally shown its true nature. Either way, the Council has made a decision. We are starting Protocol Omega." His face went pale. "Chancellor, please, give us time to investigate if someone else is responsible for this. You have 48 standard hours to show us proof of this other attacker. If you fail, the combined fleets of the Galactic Council will destroy every human world. Your species will be completely erased." The message ended. Daniel stood in the silence that followed, feeling the lives of 8 billion people pressing down on his shoulders. "Captain," he said quietly, "what do we do?" Was already moving toward the door. "We find out who really attacked that fleet, and we do it in 48 hours. She stopped at the doorway and looked back at him. "The fate of everyone we have ever known depends on what we do next, Commander. I suggest we get started." Daniel nodded and followed her out. Somewhere in the wreckage floating around them was the answer they needed, the proof that would save humanity or damn them. They had less than 2 days to find it. The investigation started immediately. Every sensor on the Resolute was pointed at the wreckage, searching for any clue that might show who the real attackers were. Captain sent encrypted messages to Earth Command, telling them about the situation. The answer came within 1 hour. Admiral, commander of the Third Fleet, appeared on the secure channel. He looked like he had not slept in days. Dark circles hung under his eyes and his uniform was wrinkled. "We know what is happening," he said without any greeting, "and we have information that might help your investigation." "What kind of information?" asked. "The kind that has been secret for over 100 years. The Admiral's jaw tightened. "Captain, what I am about to tell you has been known by only 7 people in our entire government. It is the reason Earth never answered the Council's invitation." Daniel and waited. "In 2089, we received the Council's radio signal. Everyone knows that part. What nobody knows is that 3 days later we got another signal. Different frequency, different place of origin, and very different message." "From who?" "We never figured that out. The signal was heavily protected with codes, but our best people eventually broke through. It was a warning. It told us about the Council, their history, how they treat new species, and it told us about something else, something the Council has spent millions of years trying to keep hidden." The Admiral brought up a star map. Deep in the center of the galaxy, far from any council world, one area was marked in red. The void, he said. That is what the council calls it. An area of space about 40 light-years across where no ship has ever come back from. The council says it is a natural danger zone. Strange gravity, deadly radiation. They have forbidden any species from going near it. And the signal said something different. The signal told us that the void is not empty. Something lives there, something old, something that was in the galaxy long before the council existed, long before any current species was even born, something that went asleep millions of years ago and was never supposed to wake up. Daniel felt a chill run through his body. What woke it up? We did. The Admiral's voice was heavy with old guilt. Not on purpose. Our radio signals, our television shows, our communications, they spread through space at the speed of light. Most of it is just noise, but some of it reached the void, and something heard. The attacks on the Council fleet said, the ships with our symbol. We do not know for sure if they came from the void, but the timing is too perfect to be an accident. Whatever is in there has been watching humanity since our signals first reached it. It knows about Earth. It knows about the Council, and for some reason it has decided to start a war between us. Why would it do that? I wish I knew. The Admiral leaned closer to the camera. Captain, you have less than 47 hours to find evidence that proves Earth is innocent. I am sending every ship I can to your location, but most will not arrive in time. If you cannot convince the Council we did not do this, we will have to fight. Fight the entire Council fleet. We have been preparing for this possibility for over a century. It will not be easy, but we have abilities that the Council does not know about. Technologies we figured out from that original warning signal, combined with human creativity. If war comes, we will not go down easy. Nodded slowly. Understood, Admiral, we will find the evidence. I know you will. His expression softened a little. Good luck, Captain. The future of our entire species is in your hands. The channel closed. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Sandra's voice came through the ship's speakers, excited and urgent. Captain, Commander, you need to come to engineering right now. We found something. They found Sandra bent over a work table, surrounded by pieces of debris from the destroyed Council ships. Dr. Cole stood next to her, running scans on something small and metallic. What do you have? Asked. Sandra held up a twisted piece of metal. This is part of the hull from one of the attacking ships. Our salvage teams pulled it out of the wreckage. And it is not human technology. It is not Council technology either. Look at how it is made. She showed an image on a nearby screen. This metal mixture does not exist in any known records. The way it was built is beyond anything we can do, but here is the interesting part. She zoomed in more, showing patterns carved into the metal at a level almost too small to see. These symbols, she said, they are not decoration. They actually do something, some kind of coding that we do not fully understand, but parts of it match patterns from the original warning signal, the one from 2089. Daniel leaned in closer. You are saying the ships that attacked the Council were built by the same people who warned us. I am saying they used the same technology. Whether it is the same builders, I cannot say. There is more, Dr. Cole added. I have been studying biological material from the wreckage. Whatever was on those ships was not alive, not in any normal way. No cells, no organic parts, but there are energy patterns in the material, complex patterns that suggest some form of mind or awareness. Robots? Asked. Something beyond robots, something between technology and life. Cole shook his head. I have never seen anything like it. Daniel was staring at the symbols. Something about them felt familiar, something that tugged at the edge of his memory. He said suddenly, when it touched me, when it showed me what happened, there was something at the end that I did not understand. It was not just showing me the attack. It was showing me something older, a memory passed down through many generations. What kind of memory? A story, a legend, about something that existed before the Council, before any of the current species, something that built amazing things across the stars and then vanished, went silent, hid in the dark places where nobody could find them. Sandra's eyes went wide. The void. Not just the void, everywhere. The story said they were everywhere, sleeping, waiting for the right signal, the right sound, the right call to wake them up. His voice was barely a whisper, and we gave it to them. Our radio signals, our broadcasts. We called out into the darkness and something answered. But why blame us? Daniel asked. Why attack the Council and make it look like humans did it? Maybe because we are the ones who woke them up, Sandra suggested. Maybe they feel some kind of connection to us, or maybe they want to see what we will do, how we will react. A test, Dr. Cole said thoughtfully, like a parent watching a child face a challenge for the first time. Straightened up. This is all guessing. We need proof, something solid we can show the Council that will make them believe we are not the enemy. Daniel looked at the metal piece in Sandra's hand. The wreckage, the symbols, the strange biological material, it all proves that whatever attacked them was not human. Will it be enough? It has to be. Turn toward the door. Get everything documented, every scan, every test result. We have 40 hours to build a case that saves our entire species. As they worked through the night, Daniel could not shake the feeling that they were being watched. Somewhere out there, in the cold darkness between stars, something ancient and powerful was waiting to see what humanity would do. The test had begun, and failure meant extinction. The Council gathered for what many believed would be humanity's last day. Chancellor sat at the center of the great crystal hall, surrounded by delegates from 47 species. The combined power of the entire galactic civilization waited for his command. Through the glass ceiling above them, the lights of the assembled war fleet could be seen. Thousands of ships from 100 worlds, ready to carry out Protocol Omega if the humans could not prove their innocence. The 48 hours have passed, announced. His ancient voice echoed through the silent hall. The human ship Resolute has asked permission to show evidence to the full Council. This permission has been given, but I warn everyone here. If this evidence is not good enough, we will proceed with immediate action. The holographic display in the center of the hall flickered to life. Captain's face appeared, calm and steady despite the enormous weight of the moment. Chancellor, delegates, thank you for hearing us. Proceed, said. Nodded to someone off-screen. The display changed, showing the debris field, the recovered materials, all the analysis data they had collected. 48 hours ago, we found the wreckage of your fleet. We also found a survivor, a diplomat who shared his final memories with my officer before he died. What he showed us was terrifying, but it was also very helpful. She walked the Council through the evidence. The strange metal that matched no known technology, the symbols encoded at nearly invisible levels, the biological material that suggested something neither alive nor machine in the normal sense. This was not a human attack, said firmly. The ships that destroyed your fleet were built with technology older than your civilization, technology that your own records mention only in old stories and myths. Whispers filled the assembly hall, raised his hand for quiet. You speak of the old ones, he said, the architects, stories we tell children to frighten them. Not stories, reality. His voice was strong. For over 100 years, Earth has been receiving signals from the area you call the void. We chose not to answer your invitations because we were warned that the galaxy was not as peaceful as you claimed. Warned that something ancient was watching and waiting. Warned by whom? We never knew, but we know now that whoever sent those warnings was connected to whatever attacked your fleet. They have been watching humanity since our first radio signals reached them. They chose to reveal themselves by attacking your ships and using our symbol." "Why?" asked Delegate. His sharp mouth parts clicked nervously. "What purpose does that serve?" Took a deep breath. This was the moment that would decide everything. Because they wanted to see what would happen. They wanted to know if you would destroy us in revenge, or if we would destroy you in self-defense. They wanted to know if the galaxy was ready. Ready for what? Ready for what comes next. The display changed again. Daniel appeared, standing beside a recovered piece of the attacking ship. "I have been studying the communication patterns in these symbols," he said. "They are not just random marks. They contain a message, and I believe I have translated part of it." He pressed a button and words appeared on the display. Simple words, terrifying words. "The children are awake. The test begins. Those who survive will be worthy." Complete silence fell over the council. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. "They see us as children," said softly. "All of us. Human. Every species in this galaxy. Children who have been playing in a nursery while the adults slept, and now the adults are waking up." "What do they want?" asked. For the first time in centuries, his voice shook. "I do not know, but I know this. They could have destroyed your fleet in hours without any of us knowing what happened. They chose not to. They chose to show themselves. They chose to give us this message." Paused. "That tells me they want something other than our destruction. What that something is, I cannot say, but I know we will not find out by fighting each other." The debate that followed lasted for hours. Species that had been ready to vote for humanity's death now argued about the nature of this new threat. Ancient records were searched. Old legends were studied with new understanding. In the end, it was who spoke the words that changed everything. "The evidence is clear," he said. His voice was tired but determined. "Humanity did not attack our fleet. Something else did. Something that has been sleeping in the darkness for longer than our civilization has existed. Something that has woken up." He paused, his ancient eyes moving across the assembly. "Protocol Omega is cancelled. Instead, I suggest something that has never been done before. A full alliance. Complete partnership. Humanity will join the Council not as a junior member but as an equal. Their technology, their knowledge of these signals, their unique way of thinking will all be needed in the days ahead." He turned to face the empty chair with its blue and green symbol. "That seat has been waiting long enough. It is time someone sat in it." 3 months later, Commander Daniel Hayes stood in the Great Hall of the Galactic Council, wearing the formal uniform of Earth's first ambassador to the galactic civilization. Beside him, Captain wore the markings of her new rank. Admiral now, commander of the newly formed Joint Defense Initiative. The chair that had been empty for 300 cycles finally held a human. "Strange, is it not?" Sandra said. She stood nearby as technical advisor. "A few months ago they were ready to wipe us out. Now they are asking us to help save them." "Fear makes strange friends," Daniel replied, "and there is plenty of fear to go around." Through the crystal ceiling, the stars shone with their ancient light. Somewhere out there, in the spaces between worlds, something old and powerful was moving. Something that had watched humanity take its first steps into space and had decided, for reasons nobody yet understood, that those steps mattered. The test had begun. The children of the galaxy were being judged. And humanity, the species that had kept to itself for so long, the species that had made the Council shake with fear, would face that test alongside their former enemies. Because that was what humans did. They survived, they adapted, they found a way. And whatever was waiting in the darkness was about to learn why the galaxy should have been afraid of something much newer than ancient legends. It was about to learn why it should have been afraid of Earth. Ambassador approached Daniel after the ceremony. Her 4 purple eyes studied him with a mixture of curiosity and respect. For 300 years, we wondered why you never answered our invitation, she said. We made up stories. We imagined terrible reasons. We never guessed the truth. What truth is that? That you were protecting us. She made a gesture that Daniel had learned meant deep gratitude. You knew what was out there. You knew what was watching, and you stayed quiet to avoid waking it up. Daniel thought about all the years of silence, all the fear and suspicion on both sides, all the near misses that could have started a war. We were protecting ourselves too, he admitted. We did not know if you would believe us. We did not know if you would help us or try to destroy us before we became too strong. And now, Daniel looked around the great hall, 47 species plus one, all of them facing an unknown future together. Now we find out what we are really made of, all of us. Above them, the stars continued their endless dance, and somewhere in the darkness between them, something ancient smiled. The children were finally working together. The test could truly begin.